Hey stitching friends, I am back with FlossTube number 3. It's Jennifer from Stitch with Jen, and I know it's been a little while and I haven't gotten a lot of stitching done, but I have made some progress and I'm really excited to share it with you today. So first I just want to say thank you for stopping by. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back for FlossTube number 3. I am so grateful for the positive comments and the encouragement and the feedback on my first 2 videos. Thank you for everyone who's taken the time to subscribe. I'm so appreciative of that. And I'm ready to kind of move forward and share a couple things with you. And if you're new, welcome. Hopefully we'll either be able to give me some good feedback on some things, or we can stitch together, or you'll find something, maybe we're working on a similar project. So it'll be kind of fun, so welcome. All right, I made some prep progress in a couple of areas that, sometimes that getting started is the hardest thing. I was able to prep my entire piece of beautiful beige for Nutcracker Village. And for those of you that are doing Country Cottage Needleworks Nutcracker Village, the called for fabric is a linen. I've expressed to you, I think linen's beautiful. I think it's too small for me to stitch on. I'm an Aida 14 count stitcher. I stitch to relax, and I've learned that, and right now that's my place where it isn't too hard for me to stitch. And I've always stitched with DMC floss. I use the loop method. I have a pretty good system down of how to keep my back neat because it's just a single color. But boy, does that change when we get to hand-dyed floss, so we'll get there. So I did finally take some time to prep this very large piece of beautiful beige. So I'm going to step back and kind of show you how big this is going to be. And I think I allowed for a 3-inch border all the way around for finishing, because I don't know how I'm going to finish it. But as you can see, I did get the center started. And boy, I'm really far behind everyone else, but that's okay. I'm just happy I got it going. And I did some work on the tree with some hand-dyed floss. So I don't know if this color, I know that some are more variegated than others. I don't see a whole lot of variegation in this particular green. You tell me what you think. I want to say, I don't remember which green it is. I'll have to look it up. But boy, did it make me have to really shift how I was approaching my stitching when I stitched. First of all, I think I started with the loop method and had to pull that out. Thank goodness I figured that out about 3 stitches in. Then I had to figure out, okay, am I taking my 2 strands of floss off together? I had to find another strand and hope that maybe they were the same variegation. I don't know on that first one. And then doing, 1 full X at a time. I normally go all the way across the row one way and come all the way back. I get a little more efficient if I have some kind of straight rows to fill in, but I've never had to worry before about making 1 complete X, at a time. So that was a new experience for me. And I will tell you, at first, it really made my brain have to think differently. But I think once I've gotten used to it, it's going a little bit better. So if you're new to a variegated floss, give yourself patience. Start with something easy. And, if you don't quite get the hang of it at first, it's okay. I think you will. It just takes time. It took time for me. So if it's given you a little bit of a shift in how you're approaching your stitching, I think that's okay. So anyway, Nutcracker Village, that's some progress there. You all also know I am stitching on Indigo Lane still, which I think is beautiful. Brenda Gervais with my needle and thread. And another hand-dyed floss project. You helped, we talked about the fabric, and I think I went with French lace, a 14 count. I got all of the kind of the creamy color in the house done, and I think there is actually, it does stand out. It blends in just a little bit, and look at that variegation. So this is why you use the variegated floss, right? I mean, that's beautiful. So I have all of the white outline done in the windows, and then that beautiful blue door. I don't know where I'm going to move next. I think the house requires a DMC color that I don't have, so I'm trying to find something else, you know, that I have that I can kind of keep moving on this. Maybe I'll find more blue. But I think it's going to be really pretty. So, but again, I was shocked to see that variegation come out in the stitching, and I really like it. So it's worth the extra thought process that has had to go in this for me. So I understand why you all love to use it. But again, I think the other night I wanted to pick something up and do some stitching, and then I didn't. But it was later in the day. It was during the week, you know, so I work full time, and my brain just couldn't do it. So I think it's good then to have just an easier DMC project to go to where you don't have to pay as close of attention to where your stitches are. So I think I'll just have to switch off, and it just is going to depend upon how tired I am or how much I feel like I can concentrate. So anyway, Indigo Lane is coming along. Some other prep work I did. I had said last time for my samplers of the month from Country Cottage Needleworks I'm working on, that I was working on, I don't remember what fabric I said. I think I said oatmeal, and that's not true. It's actually that Carolina linen from DMC. And I know this because I went back to cut some more pieces, and these are great. Number one, you can find them at like a big box store. I mean, I think I got mine at Walmart. I know you can get Michael's or Joann's, so they're accessible, affordable. And two, you can get one piece that comes in a roll, and if you split it in half, it's a great size, I think. This is 14 count, Aida, of course, for these samplers of the month. So everything I had in my stash, I just cut in half. So it looks like I've got 3 pieces here, and I just do a zigzag stitch around the edges. And I'd had a different Aurifil in my machine because I was working on another project, and so I wanted to wait till I was ready to switch that out. And then I just use a inexpensive, this is probably Coats and Clark or something, again, just to do this stitch around the edges. So I don't use my Aurifil for something like this. And I mean, to me, the color doesn't matter either. So I happen to have this handy. So, you know, it worked. So anyway, so I did that prep work, but I think sometimes just spending the afternoon just kind of getting some things lined up and ready will make it easier when I go to work on the project later. So I did get that done one Saturday afternoon. So I've got 3 of these prepped, and then I'll move on to the beautiful beiges that I have. And I think that's it for my progress. I mean, it's just, I'm surprised, but there's been a lot of basketball on, so we've been doing that. Either going to games. I went to the University of Georgia. My husband went to Iowa State, and the women's basketball teams played each other in the tournament. So we were able to see 2 tournament games in person, you know, in Ames, when they played on the same night, but against different teams, and both won. And then they had to play each other on a Sunday afternoon. And if you followed the women's basketball tournament, you know that the Georgia Bulldog women lost, which is too bad. But the Iowa State women won. So it was very exciting to be there in person for that. So it was fun. But it was really fun to see my own college mascot in the arena there live and in person, because as you can imagine, I don't really get to many Georgia in-person sporting events living in Iowa. So it was just great to have Harry Dog there. If I can edit, I'll pop a picture up here. You can see just the joy on my face. So don't laugh at me too much, but it is just like sheer joy and excitement of having a photo with Harry. Having my band there and hearing Georgia fight songs. So it was really exciting. So good job to the ladies basketball team, and for both Iowa State and for Georgia. So that's just a little personal moment there. But so we've been busy with the basketball stuff. So that's the only progress I've made. But I've got a couple things lined up for this coming month. I'll continue Indigo Lane. I'm going to continue Nutcracker Village. I'm going to get back to it. And then I'm going to go ahead and start the April sampler of the month. Oh, I pulled out June. But, well, this is the June Country Cottage Needleworks sampler. But we're going to do April, in the month of April instead. So I've got that coming up. I've got my backup, Country Cottage Needleworks, Nutcracker Village. I have some quilting projects too. So that's it for April plans. Hope you've got more going on than I do there, but I'm trying to manage my expectations. I do have a couple new things. First, this came in right after I recorded my last video, It is from Nutcracker Village. It's the Russian Peppermint Shop. Oh, it's adorable. These are just all so cute. So I can't wait to get that one started. And then this came yesterday from Fat Quarter Shop. So I thought we could just see what this is together. And if I can even get it open on camera. I'm going to assume this is Nutcracker Village. But let's find out. Yes, it is. And what is it this month? This is the Snow Queen's Ice Cream Parlor. Ooh, it's pretty. I love this blue. Blue's my favorite color. So here she is, little Snow Queen. So we'll just add this to the pile. And you know, now that I have some, it might be easier to kind of figure out where they go. But for those of you, I don't know if there's just a lot of people doing this on Aida, so I'll give you one more look again so you can see the size of this on 14 count to see if this is something you think might be manageable. So as you can tell, I kind of have to roll it up. I don't stitch in hand. I use a hoop. So there's quite a bit here around it, but I feel like it's, you know, the fabric's getting softer as I'm working with it. And I think it's going to be just as pretty on the 14 count as it is on linen. So I'll just keep sharing this as we go along for all of you Aida lovers. Okay, one more haul thing, and this is really exciting. I don't know if you noticed back here, I've got something new. And these are some clappers. So my dad is amazing. He likes to work with wood. So I like fabric and thread. My dad loves woodworking. And he is retired and he has a great setup, I think, in his basement. So when he was here for his last visit, I asked if he would be able to make me a clapper. So he did a little research on what that was and how I would go about using it. I'm trying to have some flatter seams in my quilting. And he sent me not one, not two, but 3 handcrafted clappers. So I just wanted to give him a little recognition for that because they're beautiful. And not only did he do this, I guess his laser etcher was not working, so he hand etched all of them and made it say Stitch with Jen. That one's the smaller one. You can see it a little bit better on some of the bigger ones. Isn't that sweet? So I just thought that was so kind of him. And I've tried it out and they work. But you know, but he made them. And so sometimes I think when someone puts, kind of like when we put our love into a cross stitch project or a quilt, you know, the same is with my dad and his woodworking project. So I will keep them on display here, but I will also be using them. So I just love them. So I thought I'd share that with you. And if you have any special gifts like that, I'd love to hear about those in the comments below. So just let me know kind of what's your favorite gift, handcrafted gift you've received, and tell us, you know, how much that means to you. So I loved it. Okay, that's it for my haul for this past month. So not a lot. I've not done any proactive shopping. There was a lot I loved that came out at Nashville Needlework Market, but I decided I was going to work with what I have, as you can, based on the little progress I made last month. So if I can catch up on some things, I will definitely treat myself to some new patterns because I don't have a huge stash. And we've talked about that, haven't we? Okay, so let's move into a little bit of quilting. I did make some progress there as well. So I decided the next big pattern I'm going to start is the River Stars quilt kit. I think I showed it to you just in quilt in like the kit before, but here's the actual pattern. Minnick and Simpson, I just love it. Belle Isle. And it came with a jolly bar. A Belle Isle. And now I have it open. So if you haven't seen it, here's a little jolly bar. So these are 5" by 10" rectangles. And they're exclusive to Fat Quarter Shop, this particular cut, hence why they're called the Jolly Bar for Kimberly Jolly. But I love this line. Okay, I love this. Whoops, right here. Might as well kind of show these to you. So there's some great lights. And then we move into the red polka dot. There's a really pretty paisley in this line. And then pinks. So again, this really mirrors the colors of Mackinac Island, which I have some Fat Quarters of. And then into like a light blue. and then, excuse me, the darker blue. So the color palette is fantastic, and I figured if I start now, maybe it'll be ready by the 4th of July. So what I'm going to do here is give you a couple tips on working with a pattern like this one that I discovered as I was putting this together. So the first thing I did was I read through the pattern fully. I wanted to get an idea. It looks pretty simple, squares, half square triangles. But I like to get a sense of the cutting instructions before I start cutting into things. And what I learned was, and you can probably figure out some of the sizing, but this is a 5 by 10, so we're working with that type of a measurement. But this background came in like a 3.5 yard cut-ish, right? So there are a lot of squares to cut out of this background fabric. So when I start cutting it, I might film a little bit and let me know if you want to see my thought process as to what I chose to cut out first and how I'm going to cut some things differently. There's some really small 4 patches in this pattern. So you can see them. See how there's these kind of larger 9 patch and then there's a smaller 4 patch. And of course the pattern will tell you to cut out all of the individual squares that you need for that particular 4 patch. What I did, and I saw this sort of on Missouri, I think it was on Missouri Star Quilt Company tutorial, and I kind of adapted it for what I was doing because I was kind of half watching. But I got out some old, just kind of practice squares, and I cut them into the size I would need for this particular pattern. And instead of cutting it, into 4ths and then sewing back together, I started with bigger squares and I stitched down the sides and then cut. So that way I was making one longer seam that was 1/4 of an inch and then subcutting and reassembling things. So I had this in my brain, and so I took the time to make my practice 4 patches, and the orange will represent the background and then the 2 other patterns. So I was wondering if I could maybe do that instead of subcutting all these small squares and putting them back together, and it actually worked out. So what I'm going to do is not cut my background fabric the way the pattern tells me to, but I'm going to I've redone the math and figured out how many bigger squares I need to be able to use this method and subcut them. So if you're interested in learning about how I do that, let me know. So that was a good, and then I used the clapper to press open my seams because I did press open on some of these. Oh, just that one, but that one worked. So anyway, so again, a little bit more prep, which isn't, showy and give you some good results, but I think it'll give me better results at the end. So this has been the month of preparation. So that's coming up for me. And I also put together, you remember, if you saw on my Instagram account, I was going to do some starching for a smaller quilt I was going to put together with a charm pack. And I starched my back. I had the background I starched. I decided I didn't like that. So I set that to the side and I found some just cream, probably a Kona Snow, that I already had starched, and I seem to have enough to be able to use for this quilt, and I liked it better than the blue. I starched the backing, and I did those 2 using kind of a 50-50 mix of water and like a Stay Flow starch, and then I dunked it. I put it in just like a plastic shoebox, let it dry, and then ironed it, and that worked great for the big pieces. So then I was out of that starch, so I used a spray starch when I starched my charm packs. And so here's my other tips from that experience, and that worked out fine. They're not quite as stiff as I think my dunking, but I probably didn't saturate it quite as much either. So I starch all my charm squares, and what you have to remember for a pattern that uses squares is that when you starch the charm square, they're going to shrink in one direction. So you start with a 5 inch by 5 inch square. My charm squares, after I starched them, were 5 inches by 4 3/4. So I lost a full 1/4 inch off one side of my charm square. So if your pattern wants you to start with a 5 inch square, which a lot of them do, and then use your method and trim down to like 4.5, I don't think you're gonna be able to do that. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. And so what I did was I took my squares after they were starched, and then I actually trimmed it down to a square. So as you can see on this guy, you can see the pinked edges here, here, but see how this is straight. This is where I trimmed it. So this is now, I think a 4 3/4 inch by 4 3/4 inch square. So I trimmed them all to that size after I paired them up, and I've got everybody paired together now. And I have all of my, I like to draw the line using the Fons and Porter little ruler that you can align from corner to corner. Here, I'll grab it for you. So just like this. And I like to go corner to corner here and then draw the line on either side, which will give you your 1/4 inch line from the center of your square. And then I'll stitch down just on the inside of that line, because it's going to give me a scant seam. And what that's going to do is when I flip the side back over, and this flips over that thread won't take up the space in that half square triangle. So I have all of these paired up. I have everybody marked. I've got 2 pins on the side. And what I'm going to do with these is while I'm working on my river stars, and I need an ender or a leader, meaning I like to chain piece, and I just feed one in after the other. When I get to the end, I will use one of these and just continue stitching. And then that way I've got something fed through the machine before then I can pick up and get back to river stars. So I think I'm just going to leave these kind of in a nice little stack by my sewing machine, and then they'll be ready whenever I need it, an ender or a leader. And I'll kind of, it's almost like getting 2 quilts done at the same time. So that'll be good, and then you don't waste thread, and I'll help you get the project done. So that's my plan with these. So I did get a little bit more done in the last month than I thought I did. So that is it for March progress, what I've got coming up in April. Hopefully I'll get some more things done, but I really enjoyed sharing this with you today. I hope you're doing really well. I hope you've had some good stitching time, and I hope you're going to start enjoying some warmer weather. Things are blue skies here. We live near a lake, and I have discovered there must be a bald eagle nest nearby because I've seen them flying in the air a couple times. So if I can ever get a good picture, I'll share those with you, because I just think they're majestic and beautiful, and seeing them so close to where I live has been very exciting for me. So if you have something like that, where it's an animal you love or something that brings you joy out in nature, I'd love to hear that too, and how you're enjoying that this spring. So that's my spring outdoor joy for right now. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video, which will hopefully not be a whole month from now, but I hope you enjoy your stitching between now and then. Thank you. Bye-bye.